I'm back, and this is Braveheart. And today I'm going to talk about memory loss, or what do I mean by memory loss? Basically, where is it? Um, yeah. So not memory loss, like amnesia, or not like literally memory loss, but like spiritually, you're in amnesia, like in that way. So no technology is a natural tool to be used for a purpose that we think is appropriate. So no technology is a natural tool to be used for a purpose that we think is appropriate. The internet influences every part of your life. The internet wants to subdue every rival and rule them all. It demands your full attention. So having long exposure to the internet withers your soul until you forget about what life was once like in the real world. So sometimes people spend so much time on the internet that they forget about what the real world is like. So the internet wants you to embrace who you used to be, not who you are now. So television is a medium that has no access to the past but keeps us hooked on the present with distractions passing across the screen about what the future could be. So the internet is like an ever-present memory hole. Some people are I don't know what that word is. Inconvenient and something with information from the internet that is true. So the use of the internet involves many puzzles. So the one that promises to have the influence over how we think is to keep your attention only to scatter it. So our brains get rewired every time we use the internet, and how companies exploit it should be concerning. So the digital world compels us to be focused on the present. So television is a mirror that reflects the moment, not a point of wisdom of the past. So remember and forgetting are decisions that have consequences. So Deuteronomy 6:4-9 says, Deuteronomy 6:4-9 says, so Deuteronomy 6:4-9 says, so it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words that I commanded you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and you shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorsteps of your house and on your gates." So basically, in that verse, he's just saying that basically that we need to pass down everything to our children. And nowadays, nothing gets passed down because of the internet is so prevalent, or the internet is used so much that the past gets what used to happen in the past doesn't get taught anymore because of the internet. So we need to teach our children what we know and the wisdom that we have, that we keep the commandments of in our hearts every day. So that's about it. I think, pretty sure. Like I said, I wrote most of it down, so there's not much to say because I had time to write it down. So I think that's it. For that one. Yeah, and there's a bunch of other verses, but I'm just gonna skip those. All right, so there's a little more that I didn't write. Yeah, because I stopped. So the next one is Psalms 77:11. I remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I remember your wonders of old. So this this spiritual remembering was not just a facet of individual devotion, but a practice. So God's commandments were to be told and retold as a reminder of who Israel was. So like the verse said that I read, so remembrance was at the heart of Israel's devotion. So remembrance was at the heart of Israel's devotion and shaped the rhythm of the people's spiritual lives. So this emphasis carried over into the early church. So Jesus seated Deuteronomy 6:5. So as the first and greatest commandment, which the Holy Spirit led Matthew to record for the early believers, Paul re-inferred two traditions he handed down to the early church. So Peter reminded believers of truth they already knew. So in Jude 3, commanded Christians to contend for the faith that was once for all delivered to the saints. So history is of value only to someone who takes seriously the notion that there are patterns in the past which may provide the present with traditions. So someone who takes seriously basically the patterns of the past which provide the present with traditions are only going to use or think about God's commandments. So as believers, we believe this is the case. God calls us to remember the past. This includes first and foremost scriptures, which recounts the words and ways of God from creation. So we need to always remember what God has always done in the past and always remind ourselves what God has done in the past. But it also applies to the Christian past from the New Testament age to yesterday. So we must retain ourselves to be what the 18th century evangelical basically called Christian remembrers. So we basically reminding ourselves regularly of biblical truth and their implications for our lives. So we need to, instead of being on the internet, instead of scrolling, instead of wasting time, we need to always be reminded of those biblical truths that need to be implemented in my life. So let's see. So the digital age is certainly characterized by the great something of nonsense. So we need to resist the present, which is the warp and move of the internet. So by cultivating habits that help us remember the stories. So we need to basically cultivate habits that make us remember what God did with scriptures. So that's basically it for that chapter, is that we just need to always remember, and that's why it's called memory loss, because if we don't remind ourselves every day about what God has done by reading the scriptures, then our memory of God is going to fade away, and we're just going to live our life the way we want and not be reminded about what he can do. And that's about it, and God is good all the time.